All right, let's get started. Hello, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us today. Today's webinar is titled 2015 Holiday Sales IQ, Timing, Trends, and Tips for a Profitable Holiday Season. My name is John Robertson. I'm the Vice President of Marketing at CJ Affiliate, and I will also serve as your moderator for today's session. This is our second webinar, and what I'm hoping will be an ongoing series of educational webinars that will focus on industry trends, best practices, and thought leaders. Our first webinar that we ran last month offered actionable insights for apparel retailers. And if you missed it, you can download the report or view a recording of the webinar via the links that will be coming up on your screen here in just a second. So you see there's a URL there for the report itself, and there's also a URL if you'd like to view a recording of the webinar. Before we actually dive in, I did want to take a moment just to explain the format for any Q&A. Due to the large number of attendees, we will have everyone's phone or microphone muted during the webinar, but you're welcome to send us your questions during the event by typing them into the questions section in the webinar floating dashboard and clicking the send button. We do have a team here ready to receive your questions, and we'll be getting to those at the end of today's event. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm joined today by Sandrine Thompson. Sandrine is the Director of Strategic Insights for CJ Affiliate, and she's a client strategy expert that has over 10 years of experience unearthing key affiliate opportunities for some of the channel's largest retailers and publishers. Sandrine, welcome.
Thank you, John. It's great to be here today to talk to you about a pretty important topic.
Yes, no, I'm excited, and before we actually dig into the specific insights and tips you have for everyone today, I'd love it if you could first just give us a quick high-level overview of what the report is and how can it help affiliate marketers this holiday season.
Well, this report, it's our look-back analysis, and we looked at the performance of sales in the network last holiday season. And so with this report, we wanted to define the most important trends that will help marketers in holiday 2015. And so we focused on three trends that marketers should definitely consider, and also the three most important retail shopping days of the year: Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and Cyber Monday. So you can think of this report as a holiday highlights report for the affiliate marketer, which has tips in it for capitalizing on the most lucrative shopping trends of the season.
Great, and of course for those that are joining us today, if you don't have a copy of this report yet, you can download it using the URL that we have displayed on the slide, and then there's also a copy of it in the handout section of your webinar dashboard that will allow you to download it straight away. So let's dig into this. Sandrine, one of the first key strategy suggestions that you offered in the report was for marketers to start their holiday shopping campaigns earlier. Now, it seems the holiday shopping season continues to start earlier and earlier every year, but I guess you could say that you actually now have the data to prove it. In fact, you referenced sales transactions during just the first 3 weeks of November and how they showed steady growth of 11% week over week. Now, historically, we've always kind of considered the day after Thanksgiving or Black Friday to be the official start to the holiday season. Is this data suggesting that this is no longer true?
Yes, it does seem to be that, because the trends are starting earlier, and we've been monitoring holiday sales trends for years, and we're kind of looking to those first 3 weeks to see is shopping starting earlier. And I really feel like last year was the first year in which we could point to it and say, yes, there's noteworthy increases in the daily sales events in the first 3 weeks of November. And the reason is major retailers such as Macy's and Newegg's, they really changed the dynamic of how they treated November. They looked at it as a whole month of shopping deals, and the shoppers responded to everything they were putting out there because the deals that were really compelling, and they're just too good to pass up.
So, Sandrine, would you consider this the new normal and something we should expect to continue in 2015?
Well, it definitely appears to be that way, because I'd be really surprised if the strategy to launch these steep discounts early in November doesn't happen again this year, because what we saw and what we heard was that by all accounts, the strategy proved successful in driving incremental shopping trips and increasing the overall shopping trips that retailers saw throughout the holiday season. Because, in the U.S., we've always had this sort of artificial construct that the holiday season shopping begins that day after Christmas. But, with the rise of mobile shopping and in the online shopping environment, that's fallen apart a little bit more each year. And so, what we think is that at the end of the day, what this means is that now retailers and publishers, they really do have a chance here to time holiday promotions earlier in the month and gain incremental sales. But there's a really important caveat to note, which is that I feel like the offers need to be really good, or shoppers just won't feel that compulsion to convert so early in the season.
And earlier you said that the start of the holiday shopping begins on the day after Christmas, I believe is what I heard you say. And I think what you meant was after Thanksgiving, correct?
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. Just wanted to make sure. Now, I think the idea of starting earlier probably doesn't come as too much of a shock, but you also called out a second part of the strategy, which was for marketers to keep their holiday campaigns running later into the season. In fact, you even referenced that the third Monday in December had conversion rates that were 25% above average, which is pretty significant. So what other data do you have on this, and what is the rationale behind extending holiday campaigns?
Well, the shopping patterns we've observed, what we see is that the shopping's running longer in two key ways, and ways that spell opportunity. So first, in this pre-Christmas shopping period last year, we saw that sales were remaining robust online in the network through December 21st, which is about as close to Christmas as most shoppers are willing to go, and still expect to get their orders delivered in time. So, at this point in the shopping season, where shoppers would normally pivot away from the online channels and turn to offline to finish their shopping, what we saw was that even though sales activity, went down a little bit more each day, click activity remained, relatively robust. And so this points to the fact that, shoppers are still remaining engaged with the online channels through the week of Christmas.
So if I'm a retailer and I want to capitalize on this trend, what are the types of things I should be doing?
Well, the point here is that the interest on the part of affiliate shoppers to continue to shop online, as long as they possibly can, this is an opportunity for retailers to think, well, how can I put some strong expedited shipping offers out there during that last week of shopping? So again, that week that starts with December 21. And publishers also can take a strong lead here as well. If the retailers are putting the offers out there to keep sales online, then I feel like the publishers should give some additional placement to those offers, particularly those offers that will enable those last-minute gifts to get to their destination, without breaking the bank. And for omni-channel retailers, what I think there's an opportunity here as well is, if you're a retailer who has both an online and an offline store, then that pre-Christmas, late shopping opportunity, it really can be all about, well, how can you leverage the reach of the affiliate channel now to drive shoppers in store, even as late as Christmas Eve.
So, Sandrine, that makes a ton of sense, but you also were showing how the campaigns were really running not only up to Christmas, but beyond Christmas. Can you share a little bit about what's happening after Christmas?
Right. It's just there's no stopping, it seems. No rest for the weary in affiliate marketing, because even though sales slack, dramatically on Christmas Day, they pop right back up on December 26th. And this is happening because, in the U.S. and Canada, there's a lot of shoppers indulge in kind of a day after Christmas shopping expedition, where they head out with their friends or their family for, believe it or not, even more shopping. So some of this, post-Christmas activity, which, really originated as an offline experience, it's migrating online. And we're seeing that a lot with the Canadian market particularly. And so as, the network has really grown its reach into the Canadian audiences, the day after Christmas is very much so a day now that U.S. retailers can't ignore. And it's important for U.S. retailers because, Canadians, they're pretty avid cross-border shoppers. DHL did a study last year and found that about 61% of the online shoppers in Canada are shopping from cross-border advertisers.
I had no idea that the Canadian shoppers had that much of an impact. 61%, that's quite substantial. So we've covered that the holiday season now starts earlier and it runs longer, and I imagine that's probably good news for retailers because it means we have a larger or longer shopping season. And I'd like to just go back quickly and discuss the early November timeframe for a second. As much as I like to stay current on trends, you referenced a finding that I have to admit kind of caught me off guard. You referenced the rising popularity of Singles Day, which has been gaining traction with the global affiliate shopping audience. And in fact, you pointed out that last year, this particular day accounted for $9 billion in sales on the Alibaba marketplace. Now, I have to admit, I was not familiar with Singles Day, and so in case there's anyone that's joined us today that may not be familiar with this, I certainly think the $9 billion in sales has gotten everybody's attention. So what exactly is Singles Day, and how do I capitalize on it if I'm a retailer?
Well, you're not alone, John, in not knowing much about Singles Day. It's really a holiday that hasn't made it onto the radar of most U.S. retailers yet. So this is a holiday that has its origins in China. It started with a group at a university in Nanking in the 90s, the 1990s, and it's celebrated every year on November 11th, or 11/11, as you see on the screen. And so that particular date, has significance, and it was chosen because of the connection between being single and then the number 1. So this is a day that started as kind of like a day for men and women to celebrate being single, and they'd go out and party with other singles. But over time, the holiday became adopted by retailers, and so now it's evolved into a gifting holiday, and it's so as a result, it's become kind of a significant sales day beyond even unattached shoppers. And like as you said, the world really kind of stood up and took notice last year when Alibaba reported those, really amazing, that $9 billion one-day sales figures. So that's the equivalent to 4 Cyber Mondays in the terms of sales dollars.
Well, I know I certainly stood up and took notice when I saw that. And so it makes sense. Okay, so the holiday's largely been popular in China. I don't feel quite so bad that I didn't know about it. But is there any data to suggest that this could actually take hold as a legitimate holiday for U.S. shoppers? And if so, how can the U.S. marketers capitalize on this?
The reason we dedicated a page of it to it in our report is we saw that, looking at the data around this time period, a number of the U.S.-based retailers in our network in the clothing, accessories, beauty, and toys categories, they saw these one-day sales peaks, or peaks right around Singles Day, sales peaks. Then a lot of these sales were originating from China via publisher sites in the network, which attract Asian shoppers. And so this signals to us that there's an opportunity now for retailers to tap the global reach of the network and then connect with the Chinese-based shoppers, because shoppers here in Asia, they have a pretty strong interest in buying American brands, particularly in these categories of accessories, which includes watches and jewelry, and then clothing and beauty categories.
So if we want to put this in perspective, how much of an impact can this have specifically for U.S.-based retailers? And what I mean by that is, if I'm a marketer today and I'm hearing about Singles Day and this massive $9 billion number, is this something that I think can make a significant difference in the 2015 holiday season, or would you classify this more as just a trend to keep an eye on?
Well, I'll admit that I'm of two minds on this, John, and here's why. Singles Day is, I consider, very much a here and now opportunity for retailers who have the infrastructure to ship to China. But for U.S. audiences, it's really hard for me to predict, how or even whether it will take off. Although, my opinion is that there's potential here with a millennial audience in the U.S., particularly if we see, like in China, where the holiday was adopted by a major retailer. If U.S. retailers did the same, I think history can show us that, pretty much anything to be made into a shopping opportunity. But until that happens, U.S. retailers who have global distribution, can get in on some of the Singles Day action by creating promotions which are targeting Singles Day audiences and then distributing those offers via the global affiliates.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like it has the potential to be a pretty significant opportunity, and especially for those retailers that maybe are more progressive or more of the trendsetter that are really looking for ways to maximize the potential that exists in November. Would you agree with that?
Yes, exactly.
Great. So obviously that's an important day, but let's talk about something that retailers can capitalize on all season long, mobile. I would imagine that certainly most understand the importance of mobile, but based on the data that you have, are there specific strategies that an affiliate marketer should be taking to make the most of the continuing rise in mobile holiday shopping?
Well, my top strategy for advertisers this year is to achieve strong mobile reach. This holiday season, it's critical for advertisers to take a hard look at their programs in terms of which publishers or which publisher types even are delivering the mobile reach, because now is the time in the season, in advance of the season that is, to really beef up relationships with the publishers that are yielding the greatest share of mobile sales in your program. Because the mobile growth shopping trends, they're probably the most significant ones we've observed. And for marketers, there's two reasons why. eMarketer has predicted that there'll be about 17 million more holiday mobile shoppers this holiday season compared to last year, and about 50% of this season's traffic, according to IBM, will be on a mobile device. And from a network view, we're expecting that some of our retail categories in the network, such as clothing and apparel, they're easily going to see 30% or more of their sales occurring on either a smartphone or a tablet.
So Sandrine, with 50% of the season's traffic being on a mobile device, let's say it's definitely hit critical mass, and we're seeing, again, 30% of transactions coming through a smartphone or a tablet. So again, if I'm an affiliate marketer, what are kind of the specific actionable items I can take to capitalize on these growing mobile opportunities?
I think it's important to recognize that the mobile connectivity, one of its biggest impacts is how it's changing the timing of promotions. And so as a marketer, you need to be prepared to change up your timing in order to be responsive to that. And so here's a good example of what I'm talking about. Last year, we were surprised to see some pretty strong Sunday sales overall. And as we dug into it, what we found was that these were a lot of sales occurring on mobile devices. And so mobile Sundays during the holiday season have become a very real opportunity. And that means that retailers need to have a mobile Sunday strategy. And one more tip, if I can share it, is that advertisers and publishers should bear in mind that with this mobile connectivity, the mobile experience should be as quick and easy as possible, and ask, how can I get shoppers in and then get them out? And I think that one way to do this is by this season consider increasing the number of affiliate links which drive to a product page versus a category page. I really think that this is going to help conversion, and I came to that conclusion because what I saw in analyzing the holiday data from last year is that the deal sites in our network, they had some of the highest rates of mobile sales and the highest conversion, and so I have to believe it has a lot to do with the fact that the promotions from the deal sites are frequently deep linked to the product level.
Got it. So it's not only about just having an intuitive app that's quick and easy to use, but it's also about getting them to the right products faster, which certainly makes a ton of sense. I also loved the Sunday mobile strategy. That's one I wasn't aware of, and so I think that's certainly something that everybody can keep in mind as they build out their holiday strategies for 2015. So Sandrine, with mobile tackled, I want to talk for just a few minutes about what is arguably the most important week of the season. In your report, you offer a very intriguing day-by-day and actually even hour-by-hour view of the online shopping behavior during peak week, which includes Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and Cyber Monday. And so beyond just really interesting data and being able to look at it on a day-by-day and hour-by-hour basis, would love for you to share with us kind of what actions can marketers take from this data in terms of how should we be adjusting our holiday campaigns based on the insights that you have.
Well, I really like this hour-by-hour data because I think it's, interesting for sure, but it's useful because it becomes really clear that shopping patterns are pretty different each day. And so the opportunity here, and I would think this is particularly for publishers, is there's an opportunity to consider how promotions are released. And so, for example, when emails are sent, or even when a site might be updated, it feels like that they could be doing those updates and releases to time them with these peak periods of shopping. And then also for advertisers, last year what we saw was a lot of advertisers were creating site-wide tiered discount promotions. And so these were ones in which certain discount tiers were available for a limited time. So using this data, a retailer who's planning such a promotion could adjust those tiers to coincide with the greatest shopping volume. Transactional volume, just looking at Thanksgiving as an example, I had two distinct periods on that day. So right before and right after what I expect are the Thanksgiving meal times, we saw the greatest sales volume occurring. And so for a marketer, I think it just makes perfect sense to time promotions to launch during the peaks.
That's a great overview, and you also offer those a series of interesting tips for addressing the specific types of mobile shopping traffic they can expect on each of these days. So would you mind just walking us through some of the tips for each of the largest days, Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and then finally Cyber Monday?
Sure. So first, Thanksgiving, it's all about engaging early and late in the day, and then expect that there's going to be heavy traffic on mobile devices. That's because a lot of people are out visiting or hosting relatives, and so they don't really have the accessibility to be at their desktop. So last year, about 17% of the network sales came through on a mobile device, and so this wasn't the highest day of the season by any stretch, but it's something to bear in mind when you consider how you're going to engage with shoppers on Thanksgiving. And next, or second, on Black Friday, you kind of can't miss shoppers on this day because if you look at the hour-by-hour volume, they're pretty much start early and stay strong all day. But what you should consider here as both a publisher and a retailer is that you have to think that shoppers probably have the day off from work, and so they probably have greater flexibility to either go do all their shopping online if that's their preference, or go into a store and take those sales offline. And so for omni-channel retailers, this is kind of an opportunity to stand up and think, well, how can I leverage this opportunity to promote both my online and my offline promotions via affiliates? So lastly, Cyber Monday. Cyber Monday is different altogether due to the fact that a lot of Cyber Monday shoppers are shopping from the work computers. That's kind of the reality, is that the bulk of shopping occurs during work hours. And so the share of sales on mobile devices were actually lowest on Cyber Monday when you looked at all the days during our peak week period. So this has some implications when you think about purchase intent. Purchase intent on Cyber Monday is super high. The correlation between clicks and sales is the highest of that peak week period. But the flexibility to browse, because the shoppers are at work, may be a bit more limited. So the overall point of the hour by hour and the day-specific strategies is that retailers, with this information, can optimize their holiday strategies, based on the day-by-day and hour-by-hour trends.
Those are some great tips, Sandrine. Thank you. And this has been a really fascinating discussion. For those that may have joined late, how can they get a copy of the full report?
Well, the report's available to be downloaded in the handout section of the webinar panel, and it's also available for download on that URL that you see on your screen right now.
Wonderful, and it's amazing how quickly time flies by, but since I've done all of the talking, should we take a few questions from our audience?
Absolutely.
So just as a reminder, if you would like to send us a question, you can do so by typing them into the questions section in your webinar floating dashboard and clicking send. We have already received a few questions, so let me just take a look here and see if I can find a good one. Here's one. So Sandrine, based on the data that you have, what are the 2 or 3 types of holiday promo offers we should be making this holiday season?
That's a great question. It's something that we looked at for this report too, because we had that same idea of what offers are really connecting with consumers, and what we found was that coupon offers converted higher overall, and they drove the greatest holiday sales volume. And then second in volume were the sales and discount offers. Yet, somewhat surprising, at least to me when I looked at it, was the relative low performance of the free shipping offers. And free shipping offers are historically cited as the #1 offers that shoppers want in order to convert online. But for whatever reason, they were not the most popular offer last season. And it's possible that free shipping during the holiday season, at least, has become so ubiquitous as an offer to be commoditized. But I also suspect that last year a lot of the coupon offers in the network were actually coupon plus free shipping combos. So my advice when it comes to what types of offers to be making for the affiliate channel would be to lead with a coupon offer, ideally one that has a free shipping at a lower basket threshold if possible.
Great. And as I'm looking through the list of questions, it looks like Singles Day certainly piqued some interest. So let's take a couple of questions around Singles Day. You referenced apparel, accessories, toys, and beauty as being the big retail categories. Should we assume these same categories to be the top performers this year?
Yes, and here's why. I'm looking over all the categories that succeeded last year. I mean, there are some definite reasons why these ones stood out, and I think those reasons will hold true again this year. So basically, for shoppers on Singles Day, Chinese shoppers, when they buy from U.S. retailers, what they're shopping for is cachet. So they're looking for brands that really resonate with them, but which they cannot get easily within their own country, and so they'll pay more to buy them abroad and have them shipped. So U.S. cosmetic brands like Elizabeth Arden, they're sought after by Chinese consumers, as are luxury watches and handbags and apparel items. So I do expect that U.S. retailers in these categories of clothing and apparel, accessories, and beauty will see some success again on Singles Day. But this Singles Day, if it can cross over into U.S. audiences, then I would expect that the categories would expand to include sporting goods, consumer electronics, and department stores, just to name a few of them.
Well, we're already out of time, and we've received a number of great questions. So for those of you that have submitted a question and we did not have time to answer it, we'll be happy to follow up with you via email. Sandrine, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you, John.
I want to also thank everyone that joined us today online. And again, if you have any comments or feedback on today's webinar or topics for future webinars that you'd love to see, we invite you to share them with us at webinars@cjuniversity.com. Once again, I'm John Robertson. With me today has been Sandrine Thompson. We hope you enjoyed today's event, and this concludes today's webinar. Bye, everyone.